We want to talk about the return of the Alliance Football Leagues this weekend, and I'm delighted to say Ryan McHugh is with us to talk about this. Ryan, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
I'm very good. Yourselves?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm genuinely looking forward to the return of inter-county action. It feels like it's been away for a very long time at this stage. What's it actually like for you prepping for the games this weekend?
Yeah, I'm actually the same, to be honest with you. I'm really looking forward to the start of the Alliance Leagues. As a player, first and foremost, and I suppose as a supporter even as well, I suppose with everything unfortunate that's going on in the world the last couple of years, we haven't really had a proper Alliance League. So we haven't. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting into the action this weekend. So we've a massive match against Mayo. But even as a supporter, watching the games on TV, listening to the radio, the other games, I'm really looking forward to it. I think in every division there's some massive matches, and I'm really looking forward to it.
In terms of that, what you've just mentioned there, the last couple of seasons, how difficult was it for you to assess exactly how well your form was going, how you were going, and how close you were to being ready for what was coming in Championship when you didn't have the full campaign like you hopefully will have this year?
Yeah, it was difficult. Not gonna lie, it was tough to suppose, as you touched on, just to really know where you're at, because it just. I suppose we were lucky enough. We had a couple of league matches last year, but especially the year before, where it was just straight into Championship. It was difficult to understand where you're really at. Other years, you said we always had the Alliance League to judge yourself off, I suppose. So it was tough. I suppose you were relying on a lot of your S&C coaches, your manager to put you in the best shape possible. Thankfully we felt in Donegal we were, and we couldn't have blamed not being in the best shape or not being match ready on the results we had the last couple of years. But as I said, looking forward to this year, I think we will know a lot more come Championship time where teams are at after the Alliance League.
The performances last year, when do you stop talking about what happened last year? Do you ever stop talking about it the next season? Is it always part of the next season's journey because you kind of have to keep absorbing the lessons and make sure that it never goes away? Or as a performer, do you need to completely block out what happened in the past and just look exclusively to the future? How does that work?
For me, I think it's probably trying to find the right balance. I don't think you can completely forget about it because you have to take the learnings from it. From every year, not just last year. The last couple of years. I suppose last year we lost to Tyrone. The year before we lost to Cavan. Year before that, lost to Mayo. So we need to take the learnings from every single match. We'd like to think going into this Mayo match this weekend that we would learn a lot from the match that we played a couple of years ago down in Mayo and the Super 8s that we unfortunately lost. So I don't think you can leave just completely turn your back on it and move on to the next year. But I don't like to overanalyze it either, because there is a lot of new players and there's different players going to be playing on any given day. So I think it's finding that right balance where you can take the learnings from every single game, whether that's just gone past a week or a year. I think that's hugely important, and that's sort of what I'm trying to focus on going into the Mayo game this weekend, is from that match down in McHugh Park there. I think it's 2019 that we can take the massive learnings from it, what we done wrong, maybe taking the ball into contact a wee bit too much, getting turned over a wee bit too much, so we can take that into this weekend and try to put them things right.
It's obviously a more acute thing for Donegal, given Tyrone beat you last year, but there is a sense that the fact there was an All-Ireland winner that wasn't Dublin last year, that might have given people renewed hope going into this year. I guess the other point on that is that the last team to have beaten Dublin before Mayo last year was yourselves in 2014, so maybe that was never a mental thing for you. But are you tapping into that notion that a lot of other people are at the moment, that this year is really open season?
Yeah, I do believe that it's anyone's ball game. I think there's a lot of good teams out there at the minute. Obviously you've Dublin, Kerry, Tyrone, Mayo, Monaghan, Armagh. There's a lot of good teams out there. So there is, Cork, a lot of top teams. So there is, and I think there's a lot of good footballers playing on every single team. So I think it's just a matter of really focusing on yourself. I know in Donegal that's what we're trying to do. Don't get me wrong. As I said, every game and going into the Alliance League and the Championship, you have to focus a wee bit on the opposition and who you're going to mark and different sort of stuff. But I think mainly it's about focusing on yourself, and I suppose going back to that, getting yourself and the team 100% ready for the challenge ahead, and getting yourself match fit and prepared for the battle. As I said, we've trained well over the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of really, really competitive McKenna Cup matches to get ourselves ready for this match, and hopefully we can start this weekend, get a win and build to the year ahead, and hopefully we can get a bit of silver at the end of it.
Was it kind of sickening to be watching Tyrone be the ones who got over the line in the at the end of the Dublin era, it was Tyrone, who you guys were on the field with, and things were going quite well for a period of that game?
Yeah, I suppose, listen, it was a bit, listen, I suppose if Donegal's not going to win it, you'd rather see an Ulster team win it than anyone else at the same time, but I suppose it was the fact that we put ourselves in a great position in the Tyrone match, and unfortunately things didn't go the way after that, but as Tyrone, to be fair to them, went on, they improved every single match after us, so they got better and better and better, and were 100% deservedly All-Ireland winners, you get asked a lot of times now when you meet people, would you went on to win the All-Ireland, different sort of stuff. I don't know, is it as easy just to say that? I think, to be fair to Tyrone, as I said, they improved every single match. We definitely put ourselves in a winning position in the Tyrone match, and unfortunately couldn't see off and everything. And you go out one day and you get beat. You're the worst in the world. You go out the next day and you win by a point, scrape over the line. You're the best in the world. Sport is so fickle, so it is. And I suppose that's where you have to be that wee bit, I suppose, mentally stronger to understand what you're trying to achieve within a group. That if one day that things don't go your way, which is going to happen in sport, everything's not going to go right. You're going to have to grind it out some days, and some people aren't going to play to their best ability. Maybe the whole team might not play to the best ability. But I think it's still trying to grind out that result, and I'm still trying to grind out a performance that you can take back the next day when you go back into training that you can be proud of, But from a Donegal point of view, I suppose, listen, to be honest with you, every year I do feel it's now or never, I try not to look ahead to next year. I suppose we have, as you touched on, we like to think we have a good enough mixture of youth and experience. You have a couple of older boys. You have Michael Murphy, Neil McGee. Unfortunately, I'm coming into that bracket now.
I was going to say, where are you in that? Yeah,
I'm coming into that bracket, unfortunately, now, so I am. But now you have the likes of that, and then you still have the younger boys. You have the Michael Langans, the Kieran Thompsons, the Niall O'Donnell's, the couple other new boys just coming into the setup, Owen Bang Gallagher's, So we do like to feel that we have a lovely mix in Donegal. But again, it's all right saying all this. Again, it's putting the performances back to back, and it's getting the consistent performances every week. I suppose I feel maybe over the last number of years that we've produced a lot of top performances, but it's just on that one day maybe that we're that just wee bit off, whether that's 10-15% off, that we need to grind out a result and just try to get over the line, and I think that's where we just need to get that wee bit better.
You excited for potentially 2023 and a new championship structure coming in, Ryan, potentially taking the importance away from your results in Ulster? Because let's face it is unfair on a team in Ulster compared to teams in other provinces, given you have to come through an unbelievable war every single summer to make the knockout stages.
I'm actually, and it's not just the Ulster side of it, I'm actually just looking forward to a change. I believe change can be good sometimes, Don't get me wrong, the days I was lucky enough to win the Ulster title was some of the best days of my life. So it was the celebrations and the scenes on the pitch afterwards, and coming back down to the cup and into Donegal town was phenomenal, and it's memories and that'll live with me for the rest of my life, But I do believe that change can be good sometimes, and I do believe that the GA structure, the whole thing needs a small change, So I am looking forward to it. How it goes, time will tell, But I do believe that change is good sometimes, and I'm happy that the GA are looking at it.
I'd one last question for you. We obviously, when we're analysing soccer in particular, we look at how a manager comes in and changes formation and changes players' positions, and you can be a midfielder, you can be a number 6 or a number 8, you can be a right wing back or a normal traditional right back, or you can be an inside right. In Gaelic games, we still have the way the programme is laid out, the 6 defenders, the 6 forwards and the 2 midfielders. I think you're one of those kind of transitional footballers who we don't really know how to talk about. You're not a stereotypical defender, although at times in the game you will be a defender. You're not a stereotypical forward, although at times in the game you're expected to play as a forward. How do you describe your position and your role?
It's a good question. So it is. Listen, growing up underage, I would have played all my football at centre back, wing back for my club Kilcar. Sort of, loved it, so I did. I used to love attacking, facing the ball, so I did, maybe coming off the shoulder. So played a lot of football growing up there. I suppose when I came into the Donegal scene a wee bit more and under Jim at the start, was sort of playing maybe more in the half forward line and maybe dropping back. So it was into a sweeper sort of position, a wee bit more. And then sort of as I got a wee bit older, started going into a more of a halfback position for Donegal as well. I actually was thinking there one day, I think I've played the most lines for Donegal, barring goals. I've played in cornerback, or fullback, I should say, the halfback. I've actually played midfield against Monaghan one day and Mark Darren-Hughes. And I played the half-forward line and full-forward line. So I think I've played in every single line for Donegal through the years. Listen, football's changed, so it has. I suppose going back maybe to my father's day and times around that, it was more that if you're a cornerback, you play cornerback. If you're a corner forward, you play corner forward, and so on. I think football's a lot different nowadays. That it is that when teams don't have the ball, there's 15 defenders. I know it's simple to say, but there is 15 defenders, and when you have the ball, there's 15 attackers. I think everybody on the pitch needs to be able to contribute in either way, whether that's defending or attacking. I suppose if you just look, I think it was the Ireland final last year, Paddy Campsey kicked 2 points today, and Ronan McHugh gets up and kicks a point or two as well. So I think, or maybe just a Kerry game was one of them anyway. So I think football has changed. It's no longer defenders defending all the time and forwards attacking all the time. Yeah, don't get me wrong, you want, when you're playing the top teams, if you're marking a David Clifford or you're marking a Conor Callan, you want your top defenders on them, and you want them on them 90-95% of the time, because that's the best chance you have of turning them over. But I do believe that from a defender's point of view, you have to be able to get up the pitch and score, or at least contribute to the attack nowadays. Even against Monaghan there last weekend in the McKenna Cup final, every single time Monaghan attacked it was their defenders that were taking the ball up the pitch, getting the ball up to the forwards. The forwards might have been doing the scoring, but it was probably their cornerbacks, halfbacks to midfield line that were really setting up all the attacks for them. So and on the flip side, when the ball's turned over, you need your forwards working hard and trying to get a turnover for you up the pitch as well. So and I think it's a cliche and it's easy saying that everyone's a forward and everyone's a defender, but I do think football has gone a lot more like that.
Yeah, no, for
sure. I suppose to answer your question, from my point of view, favourite position probably, as I said, growing up would have been centre back, wing back, but as I said, I've got older, I've probably played a wee bit more football around the half forward line.
Yeah, and that all makes sense, and it's definitely part of the evolution of the game that I'm not sure we've caught up with when we're talking, particularly in terms of all-stars and positions and the value of each individual performance in every game. It's difficult, particularly because we don't get the live data that you guys get in terms of the number of touches and all that kind of stuff too. So is that how you judge whether or not you've had a good game? It's like the stats that come off, it's the important involvement in the game.
A small bit, people do read a lot into it. Personally, for me, I'm not that massive into the stats and stuff. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'll look at it and I'll take everything on board, but I'll know myself after coming off the field if I've had a good game or a bad game. So, and that's sort of how I judge it. I'll ring a lot of people. My father doesn't belong tell me after a game if I play good or bad, and I'm afraid if I tell Dad I had 30 touches of the ball there, Dad, I thought I was doing all right, that means nothing to him. So he doesn't belong tell me if I've had a good game or bad game. But no, I suppose again it's going back to modern day football, and stats and all that kind of stuff do play a massive role in it now, don't get me wrong, and I do believe they are important and they have a role to play. But just for me personally, as I said, I'll make my own assumption on who, from myself, if I played good or bad, and if I'm watching a game who I felt played good or bad, I wouldn't really look into the stats, especially ball touches. I think ball touches of the ball can be a wee bit artificial, especially with kickouts the way now. A cornerback could get 15, 20 touches easy just off kickouts if a team's given kickouts and different sort of stuff. So I think that might be a wee bit, not relevant. But I suppose, listen, up the field, I suppose touches the ball, from a centre forward, corner forward would be more relevant, I suppose, to the game.
Yeah, fair enough, Ryan. Great stuff. Enjoy the season. Best of luck with everything. Thanks a million for talking to us again. Cheers.
No problem. Thanks a million. Talk to you soon.
That's Ryan McHugh there. The Allianz Football League was officially launched earlier this week. It's the 30th season that Allianz has sponsored the competition, making it one of the longest sponsorships in Irish sport. And it looks like this weekend is going to be brilliant. We're going to be back with Deal or No Deal.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio.